Welcome to this edition of Inside the Locker Room. I'm Gabe Farias.
And I'm Johnny Walker.
This edition, we are going to be talking about the University of Central Florida and should they have created national championship rings, even though they weren't the national champions. We're also going to be talking about the use of marijuana when it comes to the different professional leagues.
And finally, we'll be talking about All-American linebacker Shaquem Griffin from the University of Central Florida. All that and more on Inside the Locker Room.
40% of food in America is never eaten.
And welcome back to Inside the Locker Room. Gabe Farias and Johnny Walker.
Yes,
Mr. Walker, University of Central Florida.
Yes.
12-0 in the stellar American Conference Football League. Then they go on to win their American Football Championship. Then they go on to defeat Auburn, who defeated both Alabama
and Georgia.
That's
right.
In the Peach Bowl. They finished 13-0. Danny White, their athletic director, true to his word, says, I'm going to create a national championship banner. I'm going to hang that banner, and I'm going to make a whole lot of national championship football rings, and I'm going to give them to everybody. My thought is that mug right there probably has about as much validity and credibility as a national championship football ring given to any athlete at University of Central Florida because they did not win it in the system they are in right now. What are your thoughts on that? Was that the right move by Danny White to create those rings in that banner and hand them out to everybody?
First of all, I want to congratulate and clap Danny White and the University of Central Florida and Scott Frost, their head football coach, for claiming themselves as the national champion.
Okay.
Now, I think that what it does is it lets the bowl championship committee, who selects the teams to try to play for the championship, lets them know that we've got some other teams who have the opportunity to be able to play in that championship series. So I think that what it does is it lets them know that they need to expand the amount of teams that are playing. Instead of 4 teams, we should have 8. We have 8 teams. University of Central Florida gets in, and they have a legitimate chance of trying to play for a national championship as opposed to pronouncing themselves national champions, which I still don't have a problem with. I'd wear that championship ring well. I'd have no problems wearing it.
You should have been an attorney. I love how you kind of flipped the argument. I'm not arguing what is a flawed system. I agree there's a flawed system. I agree that 8 teams, 16 teams. Let's open it up so that we, at the end of the day, find out who truly is the national football champion in college. That's not the argument. The argument to me is they went out and they created rings and they created branding and stating that they were the national champions. Johnny, they were not the national champions. I think that it was a mistake to do so. Do you think it was a mistake to create those rings?
Yes. Once again, I want to congratulate Danny White and the University of Central.
So you say
I find absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Really?
I think and what I think that it does is, again, like I said, it adds fuel to the fire to saying that we need to expand the championship, the national championship, and allow more teams to have the opportunity to play for it. I don't agree with some of the choices that the selection committee makes. I thought Auburn should have had a chance. If they beat both Alabama and they beat Georgia, they should be playing for the national championship. But unfortunately, it didn't work that way. So it's a flawed system. Kudos to them for circumventing that and saying, you know what, you're going to consider, whether you like it or not, we're going to call ourselves national champions, and I have absolutely nothing wrong with it whatsoever.
But there's only one problem with that.
What's that?
They weren't national champions.
Well, they are. According to them, they feel they are. I don't have a problem with it.
But there's no subjectivity to that, Johnny. You're either the national champion or you're not.
According to Central Florida, all their fans, all their fan base, they're national champions. Now, according to the BCS selection committee, they're not. But again, I have no problem with what they did. I think it's great. I don't think in any way that it's going to harm their program or look bad on their program. I have a lot of respect for the season that they did have. Anybody who's played the game knows it's almost to go 13-0. That's something to be proud about and something to want to be recognized for. So again, I don't have a problem with them declaring themselves national champion.
Because I'm about to enter a Facebook post that says, I'm People Magazine's most beautiful person in the world.
And you can say that.
I can say that, but it's absolutely not true.
But according to you and your wife, it could be, so it's not a problem with that.
Okay, again, that mug has more credibility than I do in stating something that is not factual. People Magazine, they have a list.
True.
And their group of editors says that George Clooney or Brad Pitt or whomever is the most beautiful person in the world. That is a steadfast selection. I can't say that I'm the most beautiful person in the world.
You can.
Well, I can say
it all day long.
But it don't necessarily mean it's true. Just like Central Florida, they are absolutely, unequivocally not the national champions.
According to the BCS Selection Committee, and
they're the committee that matters.
It's what we have deemed to accept them as saying who the national championship is, who gets to play for the national championship. Like I said, I love the fact that they did this. I think that it adds fuel to the fire that says we need to have more teams who have a legitimate opportunity of playing for the national championship. You can always question, what if they woulda, coulda, shoulda. But hey, you know what? We're gonna say we're national champions, and now it's time for you to expand. More teams having the opportunity to play for it.
We're obviously going to not agree on this. Is a complete agree to disagree moment.
I love it. I love what they do.
Do you think this is an effective way to protest, to bring light to say, look, we're doing this. We know we're not the national title champions. We know that we're not. However, we should have at least had an opportunity to win that, because I'll give you the argument that they may very well have been the best football team at the end of the day, playing in the final week of the college football season, or when they play. However, do you see this as a wonderful way of protesting a flawed system?
I really do. And like I said, I think they did it with class. I like the way that they did it. They've got, I saw their rings, nice rings.
They're beautiful rings.
Nice ring. National champions on there. I like that. I like the way that they did it. What I would have hated for them to do is to start the argument and go out on news and say, no, those guys are Alabama isn't the national champions. We're national champions. They didn't do anything like that.
Yeah.
All they did was say, we're 13-0. We're national champions. Whether you recognize it or acknowledge it or not, we're national champions according to us, and I like that.
So
I like the way they did it.
You're on that Central Florida team. You get a big, beautiful ring. 40 years from now, your grandson says, Popo Walker, I love that ring. I didn't know you were a national champion. What do you tell your grandson or granddaughter? Popo Walker?
I'm going to say, Mijo, I'm a national champion. I'm a national champion. You got nothing to worry about. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And you know what? I would have had my hand right next to the guy with the Alabama national championship ring, and we could compare. I wouldn't have a problem with it at all. I think it's great. I think it's great for college football, and it's going to, I think it's the first step in leading to us expanding the Bowl Championship Series.
You're not going to get a final word after this, but I'm going to say that may have been an unfair question, because back when you played, you guys could have gone 11-0, 12-0, and still not even been acknowledged as the national champions, because it was just a pure bowl system back in the day.
Yes, it was.
We're going to talk about marijuana coming up next. That's a tease. I'm just going to tease that, all right?
Right.
All right, man. Coming up next right here on Inside the Locker Room.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation.
America, let's do lunch.
Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
And welcome back to Inside the Locker Room. Gabe Farias and Johnny Walker kind of had one of those odd transitions from the last segment where I said, Johnny, we're going to talk about marijuana.
Yeah.
And we are going to talk about marijuana. Specifically, 29 states, I believe, has some sort of legalization of the drug, whether it's recreational and medical, or just medical use that's allowed here in the country. Not all states, obviously.
Right.
Specifically, football, specifically all sports, it's a banned substance. You cannot have it in your system at all, any sort of cannabis. However, last year there was some unfairness because some people use it for medical purposes. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we had an incident where Roger Goodell suspended offensive tackle Centrell Henderson with the Buffalo Bills for an entire year because he was using medical marijuana to fight his Crohn's disease. And there's a slippery slope between that. I know that, and for players who live in states that marijuana is legal, How are you saying that they're not able to use that when it's legal for them to use that to fight whatever kind of whatever's ailing them at the time? I think that there needs to be something that they need to do, because I can say that when I play, the abuse of painkillers, the abuse of anti-inflammatories have starting to really have a profound effect on athletes as they've gotten older. We've seen athletes with kidney problems, a lot of other health issues that have been brought on from the overuse of pain medication, and we know that there's hardly any really bad side effects when it comes to using marijuana for pain. So I think Roger Goodell and the NFL need to look at that. I know the NBA has addressed it, and they don't have as big of an issue with the marijuana. I do believe that it is legal to some extent in the NBA. I think that it's going to be time for the NFL powers that be to take a stronger and harder look at legalizing marijuana and allowing some of their players to use it.
Well, I think you have two separate issues here. Obviously, you have the recreational use, which I am unequivocally against. Personally, and of course, obviously my thoughts aren't reflective of those that produce the show. But me personally, Gabe Fidias, I think recreational use of marijuana should continue to be banned and not legal. However,
here's my only problem with that, though,
Sure,
Dave.
go ahead.
If you say that if recreational use should be banned, then you should say that drinking alcohol should be banned as well.
But it's not.
But it's recreational.
But it's not.
you use it to have fun or to whatever it is that you're trying to do.
This isn't Meet the Press,
man. I'm just telling you. I mean, if you're going to say that the recreational use of marijuana should be banned, so should drinking. Drinking alcohol is the same, if not worse.
I think that the fewer banned substances, or the more banned substances we have that can manipulate people as they're driving, as they're doing things, the better.
Like alcohol.
But it's not banned right now. But again, that if we get going on
that's
that,
a whole other story.
Yes, a whole other topic. Whole other topic.
All right.
I think that medical marijuana, it should be not only legal in every state in the union. The medical use of marijuana, I think that every sport should take a look and study hard on how the use of cannabis. Did I say cannibal?
Yeah, you did.
Okay, absolutely. I also do not.
That's one of the effects.
I am against cannibalism in every and all forms.
That's one of the side effects of recreational. Get hungry.
Yes, that's right. But I think that the study of and the use of cannabis should be encouraged. I think what Roger Goodell did was absolutely ludicrous, stupid. Reprimanding. If you're going to reprimand somebody, that's fine. But he's treating Crohn's disease. That is a terrible affliction.
Disease, a lot of pain.
Yes.
He had a medical prescription for it. I mean, he wasn't doing anything that was illegal from a legal standpoint. But according to the players' agreement with the NFL, there's no use of marijuana in any way. And again, like I said, you've allowed some of the habituates and some of these heavy pain medications that players have gotten addicted to, and it's caused a lot of other problems in their life. But you're frowning on the use of medical marijuana. They just don't go together. And that's something that needs to be corrected. It needs to be something that needs to be addressed. And hopefully by players speaking out about their use and how they're able to use it and how better they feel without all of the side effects that come with some of the other big pain medications that they're taking, hopefully they'll listen and they'll do something to try to correct that.
Do you think that the reason that Roger Goodell and other sports haven't really taken a hard and close look at not only the legalization of medical marijuana use in these respective leagues is because you don't have that widespread, holistic acceptance and legality of it throughout the country? Some states have it legalized. Some states like Texas do not have it legalized. Do you think that's the reason why they haven't looked at that as a possible way to help heal some of these guys?
I think the big problem is people just don't understand. I don't think if they get a better understanding about the uses of marijuana and cannabis and what they've studied and what they've been able to find out, if they knew truly some of these pain medications that people are taking and players were taking and see the side effects and how it affects them, they would completely do away with a lot of the pain medications that we're taking. I mean, some of the things that
because it's a natural substance.
Exactly, it's a natural substance.
Yes.
So they would completely do away with that. So I think a lot of it just comes with education, understanding the effects that it has, how it's helping them, and how it's not causing all of the problems that come with a lot of the other pain medications that they take.
So what's the solution here? I mean, what do you think the NFL should do? What do you think some of these other sports should do?
I think the Players Association come together, and I think they need to meet with the power people that play in the NFL, and they need to talk to them, and they need to explain. I think they need to bring some doctors in.
Well, the medical community,
they need the medical community and explain to them, exactly what the cannabis is doing, and that it's not in any way trying to. It's not a performance enhancing. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not trying to. They're just trying to find another way, more of a holistic way of dealing with pain, as opposed to relying on some of these horrible pain medications.
And I would think that if they could correlate that drug and how it can positively affect, especially brain and brain traumatic injuries, I think they would take a close look at that. I really do.
I do too. And again, like I said, it goes back to educating yourself.
Yeah.
And I think they need to do a better job of educating not only just the league in general, but they need to, to powers that be. They need to understand, the owners, they need to understand that it's a lot more, it's a lot safer. There's a medical, so some of the negative things they're taking out of the marijuana, so it's really more focused on the medical needs of the player. I think once they get a better understanding, I think that we will see some changes when it comes to how it's being used in the NFL.
Couple of contentious issues we've already visited. The next one, I assure you, is inspiring and it's full of love. We've got a great topic coming up after the break right here on Inside.
Nothing to do this week? Don't miss another event. Go to blacksinsanantonio.com for our event calendar. The home of the largest business directory in San Antonio with an African American focus. Sign up today for our weekly e-blast and text message alerts. Help us make this a better community. Connect, empower, grow.
Planning the right amount of food is hard. The Guestimator makes it easy. Just tell it who's coming and what's for dinner. Then it tells you how much to make. And yes, it even plans for leftovers. Try it at SaveTheFood.com.
And welcome back to Inside the Locker Room. Gabe Fadias and Johnny Walker.
Yes, sir.
Johnny, we've talked about Central Florida earlier in the program and how I thought that those guys creating national championship rings was kind of ridiculous. You disagreed with me on that topic. One thing when it comes to Central Florida that we both absolutely unequivocally agree on is Shaquin Griffin. And he's a young man who, if you've seen during the combine, he only has one arm. He's incredibly talented. He's an All-American, American Conference Defensive Player of the Year 1 year. He was a two-time first-team All-Conference defensive linebacker. Just an incredible story.
Just a great story, and you love to hear his story. The young man didn't allow the disability. He had a hand injury when he was young, and it affected his fingers. They just didn't completely grow out. So he had it amputated, and he's never allowed that to stop him. He's been very successful. He had an incredible combine. He bench pressed 225 20 times, which everybody just was
How did he do that, by the way?
He has a special attachment,
prosthetic
that he attaches at the wrist, and he's able to clamp it on to the bar, and he bench pressed that 225.
How many times?
20 times. Everybody was floored to see him do that. And then he goes out and runs a 4.38 40, which for a linebacker at 6'1", 227 pounds is just incredible.
Was that was faster than you ran?
It was way faster than me. So that's way faster than I was. But it's just a great story. A feel-good story, because it's one where kids have seen that he didn't allow that disability to stop him from being successful, and he has taken it to a whole nother level. I believe he was a second-team All-American this year. He was a Peach Bowl MVP, defensive MVP for their game against Auburn. So just a great story, great to hear it. And now he's going to be able to follow in his twin brother's footsteps, Shaquille Griffin, who's playing defensive back for the Seattle Seahawks, so he's ready to join him in the NFL.
And at the end of the day, I think he's going to be a fantastic NFL football player. You take away, if you don't even look at the disability, which you obviously have to, he's not going to get drafted because, it's a good story. He's going to get drafted because he is an incredible football player.
And he's earned it. And I think that's always been his motivation. And that's why it's such a great story. He's never allowed that He's never allowed anyone to feel sorry for him. He said, this is the way it is, but I'm not going to let that stop me from being successful. Incredible drive, and it's going to be great to when he gets that phone call to say that he's been drafted in the NFL and get the opportunity to play on Sundays.
And I'll even take it a step further than that. I've watched a couple of Mr. Griffin's interviews and seeing how he talks to the media. And not only is he not going to let that prevent him from doing what he wants to do, he does not want to get handed anything that he does not earn. He's very clear about, I want to get drafted because I can be the best linebacker for the Cowboys or for the Seahawks or for whoever takes that chance to draft him. He wants to earn it.
And I think that he's done it. I mean, he's done it from a collegiate standpoint. I don't think there's any question he's one of the top linebackers in college football. And I am excited about him getting the opportunity to show everybody that he can do it at the NFL level. It's been his mission, it's been his dream all along. That's something he's wanted to do since he was 4 years old. And it's great to see that he's going to be able to have that opportunity.
Johnny, you've watched a lot of football.
Yes.
You've watched and played a lot of football. From your wonderful time at Holmes High School to your time at the University of Texas, the Green Bay Packers, the Pittsburgh Steelers, your time in Canada. Have you ever seen a story like this? Have you ever seen a young man who has this sort of limitation? I mean, this is a limitation that he has that has excelled at this level.
I have never seen anyone that I can say has the drive that this young man has, whether he has one short hand or lack of a hand or whatever. I've never seen anyone that has that drive. I mean, he has an incredible drive, and he has not allowed that disability to stop him from being successful. And I don't think when I watched him play, when you first see it, there's no way that he's going to be able to play and make things happen. But when you watch him play football, one hand, two hands, whatever, he's making things happen. And it's just great to see him not allow that disability stop him from being one of the best football players out on the football field each and every game that he goes out to play.
I mean, the physicality that he has, 6'1", runs a 4.3, 840. He would be the #1 pick in the draft.
He'd be one of them.
I think he would be the top pick. I mean, that's freak athlete type stuff. How good of a football player do you think he's going to be in the NFL?
I think he's going to be a great football player, just because of the drive and ambition that he has. I mean, he's not going to allow, and he's been very adamant, once I get drafted and I'm on an NFL team, that means I'm going to have to even work 2 times harder. I'm going to have to keep striving to work harder. So he's got the right motivation. He's got the right mindset. So I think he's going to have a very successful career, a very long and successful career in the NFL.
And I think he not only knows the responsibility he has whenever he gets drafted to play for somebody, he also knows that because of what he's had to overcome, he's a role model for kids that have disabilities, that basically saying you can do it if you put your mind to it and you work really hard. I'm guessing he's just going to absolutely relish that role.
He really is. He already has, and he's got what, 2 million Facebook followers, Twitter followers. Yeah, it's just an incredible story. I've seen an interview where a little kid who had the same kind of condition that he had, it just was inspired by what he was able to accomplish, and him talking to kids and talking to parents and families and letting them know that just because they have this doesn't mean that it's the end of the world, and it doesn't mean that they can't accomplish the things that he's been able to accomplish. So he's been an incredible inspiration, and I think that it's great, and it'll be great for the NFL to have a young man who's so level-headed, so much respected, and is going to do everything he can to be the best that he can be. It's just a great story, and I'm happy to see him be able to get this opportunity.
And everybody wants him to succeed,
yes, absolutely.
But ultimately, he's good enough to do it. He is just a fantastic athlete.
He is.
All right, Johnny, great show, my friend. All right, that's going to wrap up this edition of Inside the Locker Room for Johnny Walker. I'm Gabe Farias, and we'll see you on the field.